Before we begin, if you like what you hear on the Tan and J-Man Show, don't forget to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, and go ahead and click subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. We encourage you to interact with us and keep up to date with the Tan and J-Man Show on social media by liking our Facebook page and following us on Twitter and Instagram at Tan and J-Man Show. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy another episode of the Tan and J-Man Show with your hosts Tanner Lee and Josh the J-Man Munt. Welcome back to another. I really need to get a new opening. Welcome back to another edition of the Tan and J-Man Show, episode 185. Tanner Lee here with Josh the J-Man Munt.
J-Man!
How's it going, J-Man?
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby?
Did you watch the SpaceX rocket launch?
No, not
Saturday?
live, but
I watched it live. Pretty cool stuff.
Groundbreaking, historical.
Took them, I think, 18 hours to get up to the International Space Station.
Elon Musk, man. Something
It's
else.
incredible.
Something else.
Smarter than us.
It's June 1st already.
Yes.
We're almost to the halfway point of 2020 being over.
Get this year over with.
Yes.
Quickly.
Good way to put it. It's not been a fun year, especially sports, considering sports too. It's been tough for us to produce episodes, but we're here and still trying our best.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to provide some entertainment for you.
Our best isn't very good, so we apologize.
Yes, a good way to put it. But the Tan and J-Man Show is sponsored like it is every week by The Damn Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-breaded tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, The Damn Landing is the place to be. The Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou that focuses on freshness and quality. And, of course, you got the damn smoke every Friday and Saturday. You got barbecue, you got ribs, you got steaks, you got all the good stuff. And in addition to that, you can wash it down with one of their 16 beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best microbrews and domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Taking them fantastic views of Lake Manitou and their beer garden or outdoor bar area that was crowded when I drove by this weekend. Whether it be by boat or wheels, the Damn Landing is the place to be, located at 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. Their phone number is 574-223-8950.
No, I have not.
You already answered my question.
Yes.
You knew it was coming. Maybe this weekend.
Maybe this weekend is the one.
Maybe Friday.
Maybe. So, got a trivia question for you.
Hopefully it's one to know.
So, on this trivia question, at the end of the show, I'll give you one guess, a free guess of it. And if you don't get it right, then I'll give you a clue, and you'll still get a birdie if you get it right after that.
Okay.
So, only one player had an over 500 record in the NBA. Sorry, this is an NBA question. One player had an over 500 record against Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James.
Chauncey Billups.
Chauncey Billups is correct. You want another one?
Yeah, I already saw that.
Did you see that? Crap!
That was my question for you next week.
Cripes!
I could have been cool and played that off and guessed at the end, but I was like, that's not fair.
I think that's the first time that's happened.
Second
time
that's
happened.
Yeah, but I could have played that off like you would have. You would have totally
I would
played that
not
off.
have.
Yes, you would have.
I would
yes,
not
you would
have.
have.
I
But
absolutely would not
to the
have.
Tan and J-Man Show,
I have integrity.
I want to be true, and I want to be fair.
One more. If you get this one right away, I'm going to be upset. Another NBA question. I'll clarify that. There have only been 2 rookie All-Stars since 2000. Can you name them?
I'll have to think about this one. I don't know off the top of my head.
Awesome. Man, I was so looking forward to stumping you with that Billups one.
I was even thinking today, he's going to ask me the Chauncey Billups question, isn't he?
A lot of answers I saw were like Tim Duncan, because it was a trivia question somebody posed. I think it was ESPN Stats and Info.
Yes.
On the tweeter, and a lot of people guessed Tim Duncan, which is a good guess, but he didn't.
For a future reference, just to help you out, if it's anything to do with any past former Denver athlete, I've probably seen it on my Twitter because I follow so many Denver sports accounts.
You know, I only think of him
and he played at CU.
See, there you go.
And
I only think of him as a Piston.
And then the Nuggets, but CU, yeah. So just to help you out for future reference. See, I'm being fair. I'm a fair guy.
I appreciate that. It still upsets me deeply.
Yes.
Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC. Fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. They were at Kosciuszko County Farmers Market again last week, and I assume they'll be there this week as well.
I'm assuming so. That's probably a pretty good assumption.
They have had lettuce heads, salad mix, radishes, carrots, kale, rhubarb, and asparagus. So, get your veggies.
Yeah, I wasn't saying it. I'm not stealing. That's your line, man. I'm not stealing your line.
I want to say you stole it one time.
Yeah, and it was awful.
It was awful. It just wasn't nearly as good.
I haven't mastered it
the way I do it.
You can't master the J-Man's talents.
I have very few talents, and they're very little substance as well.
I will say, I have to brag about one of your talents for a second here.
I can burp on command. You know that one?
That'll pick up the ladies. No, but I did not know that. But the one I was going to talk about was Friday night. You were over at my house, and you had me turn it to the Marquee Sports Network. Because they're doing do they do it every night, or is it just?
I think it's been every weeknight. They do like a mystery
game, which they don't advertise it ahead of time. You got to watch it to figure out what game they're playing. And it was the first inning of a White Sox Cub game. I don't even know what year. And Josh rattled off the final score, and 3 or 4 Cubs who hit home runs. And I just looked at him in amazement. I'm like, how can you do that? He goes, I remember that White Sox pitcher pitching that game.
Anthony Renato, Cubs were getting no hit into the 6th. And then I believe Chris Bryant hit a homer to tie it. Javi Baez hit a homer in the 7th to give him a 3-1 lead. And then Addison Russell hit a grand slam to go up 7-1. And another notable thing is that ended up being Aroldis Chapman's Cub debut that night, I believe. So
I'm not going to put it past you. I'm not even going to fact check it because I just
pretty
want
sure
you to be.
Because it wasn't a save spot he came in. I want to say they were up like 6 runs, and it would have been 7-1.
Oh, man, so. You got a crazy memory.
I look forward to that game every single weeknight just to see what it is, and I rarely watch it, but it's more fun to anticipate.
And I was even thinking, it's the White Sox, it's interleague action, maybe that's why he remembers. But then I'm like, no, it could be against the Brewers, who they play a million times a year, and he would still know every single detail about the game.
Yes, I saw Jason Hamill on the mound one time. And one of the marquee mystery games, like, oh, this is the game that Rizzo climbed up on the tarp and made a catch. I was proud of myself.
It's going to serve you well one of these days. Somehow. I don't know how.
I don't know how either.
But one of these days.
Maybe I'll be like Howie Schwab and get a Stump the Schwab. I loved that show so much.
My dad was kind of supposed to be on that. No, it wasn't that show. It wasn't Stump the Schwab. It was There's an old ESPN one. He might have to text me the name of it. It was something about a minute. I don't know. But they wanted to be in New York like the next day.
I do remember you saying, for some reason I was thinking you were saying it was Stump the Schwab. I used to watch that.
Yeah, but there was some show on ESPN that he applied to be on. And
when we were like in high school, in the summers, they'd have him like on ESPNU or ESPN News like every single day. I'd watch like 8 episodes and try to stump him. Rarely did I stump him.
Yeah, he was pretty good. Now he's really doesn't do much.
No, you don't see him too often.
I think he's affiliated with Fox Sports now or something. So, you ready for some On This Day?
Let's hear it.
Learn about facts that has happened throughout the history of sports on June 1st. On this day in 1918, the Chicago White Sox lost to the New York Yankees 5-4, but they had the bases loaded in the 9th inning with no outs. And Chick Gandil lined to Frank Baker, who turned a rare game-winning triple play.
Triple play. Chick Gandil was one of the guys busted in the Black Sox scandal. He was played. I forget who he was played by. I'm gonna go look it up real quick, but keep going.
On this day in 1923, the New York Giants routed the Philadelphia Phillies 22-5 at the Baker Bowl. It was the first time in the 20th century a MLB team had scored in every inning.
Wow. Wonder if it's happened since.
I don't know.
Chick Gandil was played by Michael Rooker.
Oh, okay.
In the movie. 8 Men Out. Sorry.
On this day in 1925, future New York Yankee Hall of Famer Lou Gehrig, he pinch hit during a 5-3 loss to Washington. That was the first of his record 2,130 consecutive games.
He did have the record till old Cal Ripken
Yes, I was
came
going
along.
to say a record at the time.
Does Lou Gehrig have the greatest speech of all time of a professional athlete?
I would say so.
Probably most
Luckiest
notable.
man in the world.
Consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
On this day in 1939, the first night MLB game took place at Philadelphia's Schreiber Park as the Phillies lost to the Pittsburgh Pirates by a score of 5-2.
I used to play at that park all the time on MVP Baseball 2005.
How does that not surprise me that you knew? I'm like, Schreiber Park. I've never heard of it, but
all the time. I loved it.
I'm really glad you are a walking encyclopedia of baseball knowledge for Fulton County because we're going to need it here when we talk about baseball. On this day in 1975, California Angels pitcher Nolan Ryan recorded his record equaling fourth MLB career no-hitter in a 1-0 win over the Baltimore Orioles.
Not too shabby. My favorite clip
good.
of all time was when Robin Ventura charged the mound, put him in a headlock, and start pounding on the top of his head.
Yep. On this day in 1979, an NBA champion was crowned.
1979.
Can you tell me who beat the Washington Bullets?
Had a question last week, and on this day,
So I'm
they
giving
beat the
you one
Washington
team.
Bullets.
I'm giving you one
So
team.
it's a Western team,
Yep.
79, 79, 79. I believe that was the year Magic Johnson played and won the title for Michigan State. So he wouldn't have been with the Lakers. That was come full circle.
The wheels are turning in the brain.
That's just scary. Let's see. Akeem Olajuwon wasn't with the Rockets yet. I'm gonna go with the Kings.
Have they ever won a title?
I don't know.
No. It was the Seattle Supersonics. They beat them in a 4-1 series victory. That was Seattle's first major pro sports championship win.
Bring them back.
Yes. Should have never left. On this day, 1982, Oakland A's left fielder Ricky Henderson stole 2 bases in a 3-2 win over the Boston Red Sox to become the fastest player to reach 50 stolen bases in an MLB season.
June 1st. That's insane.
He was pretty good at that.
You don't see too many people get 50 steals in a season anymore.
Who won the Stanley Cup in 1992 on this day?
92?
They beat the Blackhawks.
Was that the last time a Canadian team has been in the
That was 93 with the Canadiens. Good guess, though. Which is crazy.
So
to
the
me.
Blackhawks were in the West, which is weird to me.
Yes. And I didn't know they were good in 92. I thought they were terrible.
Yeah, I thought they were awful till like 2010.
2-Minute Drill was the show my dad was
2
supposed
minute
to be
drill.
on,
I don't remember it.
by the way.
Let's see. I'm going to go with the New York Islanders.
Good guess. How about the Pittsburgh Penguins, their second consecutive title?
Have the Penguins won like 20 of the last
It feels like
20,
it, doesn't it?
or 20 of the last 28?
They just get good. I mean, Sidney Crosby, Jaromir Jagr back in the day, Mario Lemieux. They just get good players.
They're a powerhouse.
Yeah, well, once in a while. They're either really good or really bad. There's like no in between.
2 Minute Drill ran for 3 seasons, starting in 2000. It only lasted over a year, though. September 11th, 2000 was the first episode. Then December 28th, 2001 was the
I remember
final
they always
episode.
asked
52 episodes.
They always asked their contestants for one category that was like their best. My dad said the 85 Bears.
That was back when... Was he a Bears fan still in 2000, was he?
Yeah.
Kenny Mayne was the host. That would have been fun.
Yeah. That's all I got for On This Day this week.
It's kind of a week on this day.
Yeah, but you should feel smarter.
I do. It's hard to feel smarter. I think my IQ level is at about the highest it's ever been, and I just don't see it getting any higher.
I'm glad I contributed to that.
After tonight.
And the On This Day segment is brought to you by Proforma Print House. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Proforma Print House has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all of your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company. Call them today at 574-210-3815.
Print some stuff. Is that good? Not as good as the veggie one?
That was just terrible. That was just
I
historically bad.
I was just trying to workshop an idea, and it just didn't go well.
I thought you were going to just say, print. And I'm like,
would that have been better?
Yeah, probably, sadly. I mean, that would have been bad, too. You got to work on that. They probably do have a
that's why I'm
slogan,
here.
though. So
That's a good point. We
Yeah.
should probably say their slogan.
Probably look it up for next week.
I apologize to anyone I offended out there.
Hey, one thing the pandemic has done is Josh's creative juices are flowing for the show. So
Yeah.
that and getting a new computer.
Getting a new computer helped.
Yeah. He's got notes now.
That old stimulus check came in handy.
Yes. So, well, we always have lists to talk about, things like that.
I'm sick of doing lists.
Yeah, and I think our listeners and viewers are probably a little sick of our lists. But we always got them if we need filler.
I do have about 5 in the holster, though, if we need them.
We got them in the can if we need them. But there has been some sports news going on lately, particularly in the sport you love the most, baseball.
Major
MLB.
League Baseball. Oh.
Let our viewers and listeners kind of catch them up to speed and catch me up to speed because I'm really not sure what's been going on.
So I wrote down quite a few things here. So the players and owners back in March originally agreed to a sort of gentleman's agreement on full prorated salaries for the season. So if you play,
And what is prorated salary?
so this is as good of a definition as I could give or example. If you play, so they play 162 games.
Mm-hmm.
If they were to play 81 games, they'd get half of their original agreed upon salary.
Sure.
So that's
Makes
as
sense to me.
simple as I could possibly make it. But their first official proposal involved massive pay cuts that were not fully prorated at all. Under the proposal, a player making, say, $35 million would make $7.8 million.
Quite a pay cut.
Slashed it. I mean, $7.8 million is a lot of money, but when you agree to $35 million,
Slashed it like an 80s horror film.
you're a big fan of the slasher movies, aren't you? That
Yeah, I don't mind
genre.
'em, yeah.
I think every single new Halloween movie that comes out, you're like the first in line to.
I've never watched one in theaters.
Never watched
I
one
wait
in
till
theaters,
it
but
comes out. But
I remember. I just know that is your top movie. If it comes out and anything else is on, you're gonna watch a Halloween movie.
I like the franchise. But
Even in the middle of June, you'd watch a Halloween movie over anything.
no, I wouldn't go that far, Josh. Now you're just kind of.
I took it too far.
Yes, you did.
A player making $10 million would only make $2.9 million. A player making $1 million would make $434,000. The players were rightfully ticked off at this, and unfortunately, if it were to go to a vote, this proposal would have never gone to a vote with the Players Association, but if it did, it probably would have passed because there's far more players making, $5 million and less than there are above that. Yeah. So they're making out pretty well, where the guys making a ton of money were not. Mm-hmm. But luckily, they're not going to go to
And it would be
vote.
interesting. I think you would see some guys who truly love the game,
mm-hmm.
and some guys who maybe like the game but are in it for the money. If that makes sense.
Right.
Maybe that didn't come out for a while, but
no, I understand what you're saying.
It was just been interesting to me. Like Mike Trout seems like a guy. He's making tons of money, but he would play.
He loves the game of baseball.
Bryce Harper seems like, nah, I want the money.
Seriously, I'd think the exact opposite with him.
Well, Blake Snell definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely.
He wants his,
maybe that's why I thought
cash.
Harper, because he agreed with what Snell said. But
most of these guys who play baseball love the game of baseball.
I would agree with that.
There's a funny story, kind of going a little off track, but old Lenny Dykstra, you remember him with the Phillies and Mets? Well, I forget what player asked him. He was like a rookie or second-year guy, and one of his teammates, they're supposed to face Steve Carlton, who's one of the best pitchers of all time, Hall of Famer. One of his teammates asked, so you nervous to face Steve Carlton for the first time? Lenny Dykstra goes, I don't know who that is. So that kind of tells you all you need to know about Lenny Dykstra. But yeah, I 100% understand what you're saying.
Glad somebody does.
It's rare for somebody to understand what Tanner's saying.
Yeah, it really is.
But MLB Players Association counter-offered 114 game schedule, which MLB was only willing to go like 81 games for that other proposal. June 30th through October 31st, full prorated salaries, so I don't even want to do the math on that one.
Don't look at me for anything.
2 years of expanded playoffs and opt out for players if they don't feel comfortable enough playing during the pandemic, which is fine. But MLB now intends to propose full prorated salaries, which is great. But they will propose a much shorter season, somewhere in the ballpark of like 50 games, which at that point, it's not even a legitimate season.
No. Man, that would stink if you're like a Rays fan and they get hot and they win it all.
Right.
But it's like
the thing, yeah, that really, whenever they start the season, if they only play like 81 games, it still feel weird because a team that's just not very good could be really good for a first half of the season, do nothing in the second half, but they're in the playoffs. So it'd be interesting. But it's not ideal, but at the very least, it's kind of a starting point.
And the games would still be played at the home team's ballparks?
That's the plan.
Not the Arizona, Florida plan.
No, that plan wasn't really feasible. But the fact that they're willing to go fully prorated salaries hopefully means they'll be able to find sort of middle ground, and we'll get baseball sometime in the next 4 to 6 weeks. I think they'll kind of fold under the pressure, the owners will, and bump it up to 81 to 100 games. But there was a report last night that some owners are willing to cancel the season in order to save money, and those owners need to sell the team. If they are that strapped for cash, care so little about the players and the sport, they shouldn't be owning Major League or a professional sports franchise at all. Rob Manfred won't stand up to the owners. He's kind of worthless. And another thing of note, the Oakland A's have announced they're going to stop paying their minor leaguers a weekly stipend of $400 starting today on June 1st, which their owner is worth $2 billion. And in this plan, with completely cutting off the stipend, there are roughly 200 players in a major league system. June, July, and August would cost about $5,600 per player to pay every minor leaguer. It would cost the A's just over $1 million.
Yeah.
The owner's worth $2 billion. And I understand he doesn't have $2 billion in cash, but still, he's worth enough money where he can shell out $1 million.
It just makes them look bad.
Looks awful.
I mean, and you got organizations like, and I'm going to bring them up because they're the only ones I've really seen on Twitter, the Reds, making sure everybody's paid.
Right. Most people or most teams are. The Nationals said they were going to cut the stipend down from $400 to $300. But then the outcry was so tremendous that they bumped it back up to $400. Even some major league players have even offered to help pay the minor leaguers out of their own pocket.
Yes, I did see that.
David Price is one of them.
Yes.
If they were to stop paying or cut pay to minor leaguers. Max Scherzer was another. So the fact that the major league players are willing to do that out of their own pocket, the owners have to. They have to come to an agreement, come to their senses. It would be catastrophic if they do not play a major league season. It's trending towards 1994 again, where that about ended baseball as we know it, and then old Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire came along and saved it.
And let's look at that. I'm glad you brought that up because now, unlike 1994, 94 you had cable. Cable was was your one source to watch sports. Now you can stream. There's so many other things you can do besides watching a ball game. And on top of that, you got these other sports who are coming back or have plans coming back. The NHL's got a plan. The MLB's or the NBA's getting close to a plan, or maybe they do have a plan. They just haven't really. And the NFL's looking like they're going to play this year in college sports.
Soccer's back in Europe.
Soccer's back. NASCAR's running. PGA next week's coming back. And then you got the MLB, who should have been ahead of this thing from the beginning and capitalized on this when nobody had anything to watch.
Right.
It could have been big for the sport. And if, say, they don't have a season, it's going to, like me. I mean, Josh, the J-Man over here, is, of course, a diehard Cub and baseball fan. I like baseball, but I'm more of a casual fan. I mean, I'm a Yankee fan, but I'm not. I mean, I'm so much more a Purdue and Broncos fan. It's not even in the same category. But if baseball's not around, I mean, I'm bummed I can't watch a game now and then, but it doesn't affect me a ton. And what's going to bring me back into it if I lose interest and not real affected by it?
That's the thing. You might just lose those casual fans completely.
You might drown them. You might drown them out.
Completely.
And they might not come back.
Yep. And that's where Major League Baseball's at, because the owners are being incredibly selfish and greedy. And the NBA is such a players' league. They're doing anything in their power to get back. The NHL, same thing. The NFL's in a great spot because they didn't have to worry about anything.
Just sit back and watch.
The only thing was the NFL draft, and I thought that went on
fine.
Went great.
Yep. You're exactly right.
And they have 2 months until camps start, a month and a half till camps start, so they can wait and see what other people are doing. But it just doesn't seem like the owners are willing to even. I mean, sure, they're doing the prorated thing.
No.
But still, if they're thinking a 50-game season is going to be worth it, it's not.
Yeah. I mean, how would you feel if there's a 50-game season and the Cubs win it all?
I'd act like it's the greatest World Series win of all time. but say the Cardinals win, the season's a sham.
Reds?
But no, Reds especially. My feeling coming into each podcast is just to make our friend Andrew Eiler mad. So Reds stink. They spend a ton of money for no reason. And they have no shot at winning the World Series anyway. So there you go, Andrew.
I'm not going to say anything, Andrew. So.
But I completely forgot where I was going with that. But no, if Cubs were to win a World Series, it wouldn't feel nearly the same.
Yeah, no doubt. But it'll be interesting to see what how this transpires, because you missed your Booker prediction.
I did.
You thought by tonight or by today they would have something.
There were good vibes this time last week, and then I think it was Wednesday is when everything broke. It was all in the crapper.
Yep.
And I'm feeling more discouraged, and even thinking for the first time there's a possibility we might not get a season. For the first time, I'm thinking this. But there is still optimism in baseball circles that a season's going to get played just because they can't afford to not have a season. So I think the owners will eventually crack under the pressure, public outcry, and do what's right, which they should have been. I mean, honestly, they could be having preseason, spring training stuff right now.
Yeah.
So.
That probably should have been the plan.
Should have been, honestly. And say this proposal that the MLB Players Association proposed, which it's not going to happen because the 114-game schedule is a lot, and they will probably have to cut it down to 90 or so. But if they want the season to start June 30th, they almost have to go back to their ballparks tomorrow in order to get ready. So, be interesting.
Yep, and we'll try to keep you up to date if anything transpires from Monday to Monday.
Yes.
So, you done talking about baseball, or do you got anything else?
No, I'm done.
You're exhausted?
I'm exhausted by it.
Exhausted. Well, a lot of college campuses are bringing their fall athletes back on campus this week. Voluntary workouts are set to begin, I think, almost any time now. I know Purdue's athletes, I think, are coming back on the 3rd, and then voluntary workouts are starting on the 8th for the football team. So
voluntary is an interesting
it is
word because, they're voluntary, but are they truly voluntary?
You probably should be there. If not, you might not have a chance to play. But.
Which isn't – it's not great for the players because they're put in a really bad spot then if they don't feel comfortable being around that many people. And if they're going to be punished by it, it's not fair at all. But I guess that's the way it is.
But I think July – I don't know if it's been approved or talked about. I think it maybe just talked about. In July, got to be the mandatory stuff's got to be in July, like early July.
I have.
But anyway,
kind of put out college football so far.
Well, we're about to talk about it.
I know it. But I did a little bit of research here.
But ESPN had a really good article today, and I thought it was interesting. I wanted to talk about. It was headline "Life After Joe Burrow and Tua: Our Top College Football Quarterback Questions."
You have to. Joe Burrow had the greatest season of all time.
Yeah, and that's who they lead off with. They said, who will have the pressure of following Joe Burrow's all-time season at LSU? And they bring up a few guys. They talk about Miles Brennan. He'll get first dibs on the starting job. He's from Mississippi. Redshirt
junior, 42 for 70, 2 touchdowns in his career. Former top 250 national recruit, and he was the primary backup to Burrow last year.
His family owns legendary New Orleans restaurants, such as Commander's Palace, where Emeril was a chef at one time.
I've never been to New Orleans, so I don't have any
I'm reading
point
it
of
right
reference.
Here. And Mr. B's Bistro
sounds
another
amazing.
One. So they say he understands the pressure of a family name. So he'll get first crack at it. Then you got Georgia, who's going to replace Jake Fromm.
A grad transfer from Wake Forest coming in, Jamie Newman. He threw for 2,868 yards, 26 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and ran for 574 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. He's a dual threat guy.
Todd Monken's the new offensive coordinator.
Interesting.
He was former offensive coordinator at Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to be offensive coordinator for the first time since he was at Oklahoma State in 2011, 2012.
They put up a ton of points at Oklahoma
It's their
State.
third new offensive coordinator in the last 3 seasons. Georgia.
Alabama's kind of doing the same deal. It seems like every year they have a new one.
But yeah, Jamie Newman, like you said, grad transfer from Wake Forest. He was second in the ACC in total offense. Yep. So, they did get JT Daniels from USC. Just announced his transfer to Georgia as well.
I didn't realize he was transferring.
He started at USC as a freshman, and
last year
he has 3 years of eligibility. But he's got to get a waiver. He's got to be eligible this season.
I did not know he transferred because he was really good for USC last year.
Yep. Then you got Shea Patterson at Michigan. It looks like that'll be probably Dylan McCaffrey. He was the backup to Patterson last year. But it could also be junior Joel Milton. But he was 3 of 7 last year for 59 yards and a touchdown.
Small sample.
So probably McCaffrey.
Those McCaffreys, man. It's a pretty athletic family.
Yeah, you got Christian, of course, who's an all-pro. Luke, he's a sophomore quarterback in Nebraska. Then Max was a wide receiver at Duke. And then, of course, Ed was a wide receiver for 3 Super Bowls with the Broncos and the Niners.
The mom was a soccer player at Stanford, and I believe one of the grandpas was an Olympic
You're correct.
sprinter or long-distance
Talk
runner.
about athletic family.
Yeah.
This isn't who's going to fill whose shoes, but I've been reading a lot about this guy ever since the draft ended. Already looking forward to next year's draft because I like the mock drafts and I got to do good next year. And that is Trey Lance from North Dakota State. He was a redshirt freshman last year, and he set an NCAA record for most passing attempts, 287 without an interception.
I have seen him listed as a top 5 overall prospect.
Threw for 2,786 yards with 28 touchdowns, rushed for 1,100 yards and 14 touchdowns.
I think without a doubt he will be the best North Dakota State quarterback to ever play in the NFL.
I'm going to let you have that one because if I say something, my phone's going to go off with Mr. Eric Lee being mad at me for saying something bad about Carson Wentz. So, and then I like this headline. Who's the next superstar at Oklahoma?
Seems like just next man up.
Yeah, because you had Jalen Hurts, who followed Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. But it looks like Spencer Rattler.
Yes.
He was ESPN's number 1 dual threat quarterback in the class of 2019.
He was a top 15 recruit in the nation. It sounds like it's going to be an open competition. I was kind of doing I was reading through some Oklahoma blogs, and the backup last year, Tanner Mordecai, who's a redshirt sophomore.
Great first name.
Backed up Jalen last year. Threw for 207 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Spencer Rattler, he redshirted last year, and as I said, top 15 recruit in the nation in 2019. So
get this, Rattler already has 28-1 Heisman odds. Murray started at 40-1.
Man. Just keep pumping them out, don't they?
Can Mac Jones keep Alabama's offense humming?
He was really good into his absence, threw 14 touchdowns and 3 interceptions last year, and looked pretty good doing it. But I wouldn't say he is a Tua-like quarterback.
What will life be like after Justin Herbert at Oregon?
Well, the guy who looks like the shoe-in for the starting job is Tyler Shaw.
Yep.
Schaff, I don't know how to pronounce.
I think Shaw. I would say Shaw's.
He's a former top 150 recruit. Was the backup to Herbert last year. Threw 12 for 15, 144 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I wouldn't say he's quite a shoe-in because they do have Anthony Brown, who's a grad transfer from Boston
College, yes. But
he's most likely, but I don't know about shoe-in.
Mario Cristobal announced him QB1 after spring ball.
He hired Joe Moorhead.
Interesting. Former Penn State offensive coordinator and Mississippi State
head coach.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which I thought it was weird he got fired. I think there were kind of some behind the scenes.
Yeah, because it's like, what are the expectations at Mississippi State? But then they went and hired good old Mike Leach. So, I mean, We'll see. Speaking of Mike Leach, will KJ Costello, grad transfer from Stanford, get his offense up to speed in year 1?
KJ Costello wasn't very good at Stanford. They struggled putting up points, but maybe. It'll be interesting. Is he a system fit? It'll be tough for like a year or two because obviously these players Leach didn't recruit, and Leach has a very particular system where they just throw the ball a bunch. So it'll be interesting because he kind of came from a pro style in Stanford. They like to run the ball a bunch, and so which isn't really a pro style anymore.
His career highs came in 2018 season. He had 3,540 yards and 29 touchdowns.
I guess he's pretty good.
Every Washington State quarterback since 2013 posted higher passing totals in both categories, including Anthony Gordon, who threw for 5,579 yards and 48 touchdowns last season.
As a first-year starter.
Yes. So we'll see.
Who did all Washington State high? I think they just promoted.
I think they just promoted within.
So did Washington, I want to say, because Chris Peterson retired, shockingly.
Can John Rise Plumlee give Ole Miss some spark? Lane Kiffin, inherited solid quarterback.
I think he was a true freshman last year, too, Plumlee.
Yep, he had a QBR of 60 and ran for 970 yards in just 8 starts last year.
Man, that SEC is going to be fun. You have Mike Leach, Nick Saban, Lane Kiffin.
And Kiffin hired UCF offense coordinator Jeff Labey, who was a former Art Briles assistant at Baylor. So
I don't think any of those Baylor guys deserve to get a big-time Division I job.
Either. And another good question here. Can
De'Aaron King.
Thank you, De'Aaron King, bring some excitement back to the U.
My Hurricanes.
Transferring from Houston.
Was he good at Houston? Because Houston was good. Was he the starter at Houston?
His streak of consecutive games with both a rushing and passing touchdown reached 15, which broke Tim Tebow's FBS record.
What I'm hearing is he's better than Tim Tebow.
No.
The U needs some excitement. Fan support is porous down there.
It was good a couple of years ago.
They're extreme bandwagon. They're much like Dolphin fans in that sense where, I mean, fan support's not terrible for the Dolphins. It was bad. It was bad last year. Yeah. But when they're good, it's real good, and it's kind of the same with Miami.
And the last one they have here, what will Washington's offense look like after Jacob Eason?
I honestly have no idea.
It looks like they have sophomore Jacob Sermon, redshirt freshman Dylan Morris, and true freshman Ethan Garbers all fighting for playing time. Brand new offense. Former defense coordinator Jimmy Lake took over and hired Jacksonville Jaguars assistant John Donovan, James Franklin's former offense coordinator at Vanderbilt and Penn State, to run an aggressive pro-style offense. I forgot Chris Peterson's not there anymore.
Yeah, I literally just mentioned it 2 minutes ago.
I was tuning you out.
I want to say James Franklin's offense were not good under him. That could just be me thinking that for some reason, for no reason at all. But Jake Eason went to the Colts, didn't he?
Yes.
Fourth round, I believe.
Yep, he went before Jake Fromm. I think 2 quarterbacks before Jake Fromm.
Where did Fromm end up going?
Buffalo.
That's right.
Yeah, there was another guy I'd barely ever heard of that went right before Fromm. I don't remember who that was. There's another interesting article on ESPN under their college football section that talked about some of the most controversial calls in college football history. The main one was Miami against Ohio State with the pass interference call when it was 24-17 Miami on 4th and 3 in overtime.
Yeah, I don't think it was pass interference, but
it's pretty close. But I don't think you call that
pass interference is so subjective. Well, if you're going to call that same thing in the regular season, why wouldn't you call it in the national championship? You know,
I feel like you don't call it that late in games at all if it's that close.
You should though. If it's actually pass interference, you probably should call it.
If it is actually pass interference, yes. But was it?
It was 18, 17 years ago.
Yeah, because if Miami won that, they would have joined Alabama in 78-79 and Nebraska in 94-95 as the only schools in the past 35 years to win consecutive national titles. The dynasty would have been back.
Yeah, and that Miami defense was loaded. That whole team, that might have been the most talent-laden college football team of all time.
It was
this year's LSU team was loaded. But I think a lot of it, no one was really talking about them coming into the year, and they had a great year. So I think a lot of it was just kind of one-year stuff because they won the title. Alabama's obviously always loaded. But
some of the other ones, this one guy brings up Colorado's 5 downs in 1999.
Yes, that was one.
Nebraska's flea kicker, it says, against Missouri in 1997. I don't really know what he's talking about there. Oregon's onside kick against Oklahoma in 2006.
Don't remember that one.
Central Michigan's extra down against Oklahoma State in 2016.
Yes, they ended up winning on a Hail Mary.
Yep.
I remember that one. There was a big controversial call in the Clemson-Ohio State playoff game last year.
Yep.
Was it a fumble? I don't actually remember the specifics. I want to say or they blew it dead, but Clemson had clearly fumbled, and they picked it up and ran it back for a touchdown or something like that. But after review, they couldn't overturn
because they blew the whistle.
Yes. So
another one that wasn't on here. How about the Bush push?
That was controversial at the time. Now you can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
But back then, that you couldn't do that.
But, I mean, it wasn't like they threw a flag or anything. They just let it go.
Right.
I mean, that was controversial because you technically weren't supposed to come and help players for progression at the time. But
you can now. I mean, I've seen offensive linemen pick their teammates up, carry them in.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why that changed, but
does a little bit of controversy hurt or help the how a classic game like that's viewed, do you think?
That's a good question. I wish you would ask.
Or really just in sports in general.
3 days ago.
Controversial.
If a team's getting like screwed over, I think it hurts because you want teams to obviously get a fair shake at it. That's interesting. That's an interesting question, though.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think it adds to the classic part of the game. It cements it in history.
And people remember controversial calls more than they do just
and
normal.
People that are neutral fans might be watching that old replay of the game just for that moment.
Yeah.
If you're a non-Cub fan, you're watching the 0-3 Game 6 to see the Barkman incident.
That's a very good point because I don't think I've watched that. I've seen the play since, but I tried to avoid it at all costs, and it was 17 years ago now. This wasn't controversial, but I still can't watch Rajai Davis hit the 2-run home run to tie it. Even though the Cubs won the game, I still can't do it.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a little different for me. Usually it's when my teams lose,
right.
But if they win, I could still go back and watch it.
But I just remember how I was feeling in that moment. I don't ever want to feel that way again.
I bet you will watch it someday, though.
Oh, I've seen it many times, but I
just don't like it.
Just don't like it. And I change the channel or I watch I've been watching a lot of like old baseball highlights, and that is one that's shown a bunch.
Yeah, I'm getting
YouTube,
tired of watching old sports highlights.
I fast forward through
for some live sports.
So, but that is a very good point. I would not willingly watch the Bartman thing where other people would. And as I said, I think people remember that kind of controversial play. The first one that comes to mind was the Fail Mary or the Hail Mary and against it was the Seahawks and Packers. What was that called? What was that, the Fail Mary?
Yeah, the Monday night game.
The Monday night Fail Mary. That was a regular season game in like September, and we're still talking about it because of the replacement refs because they were on strike. And
I'll never forget the next day I had I think it was a history of Western Asia class or something like that.
To be honest, that just sounds like
it was one of those classes I had to take, like how my major was broken up. You had to take a class in a certain category. And I was sitting next to Ryan Smith, Purdue basketball player at the time, big Packer fan, big Cub fan too, big Packer fan. It was the very next day, and he's sitting right next to me. And I look over to him, like, rough game last night. We're not talking about that. All right, good talk.
I hated Ryan Smith, the basketball player.
Didn't bring him up. Didn't bring it up, but I remember seeing him on campus one time during opening day, and he was head to toe in Cubby blue.
I remember you saying he was a Cubs fan. That doesn't make up for the fact that
he was an Illinois killer.
He was an Illinois killer, and I hate him for that.
But yeah, I'll just never forget that. Just a tough game last night. Yeah, we're not talking about that. All right.
You know, if it happened to any other franchise, besides a franchise like the Patriots or Cowboys, I wouldn't care. But the fact that happened to the Green Bay Packers was the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I remember watching
in my
that
life.
game.
I watched it live, yeah.
But, controversial calls like that.
They are remembered a lot more.
Are. They are. And crazy finishes like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting to kind of take a look back on.
Good stuff. About 15 minutes left here. What else you got?
Well,
actually, before we get going forward, I saw this thing on Twitter. I think you participated in it like back in March. A guy put out like first stadium, last stadium, best and worst.
Yeah.
You want to go through that real quick?
Sure.
So my first stadium I ever went to was Wrigley Field back in 95 or 96. My dad and I met my grandfather, my mom's dad, at Wrigley, and back then attendance was so bad right after the strike, which we mentioned this, that my grandpa was able to park across the street at the McDonald's.
Don't think that would happen anymore.
Well, I think the McDonald's torn down for
long. Well, don't think that happen anymore.
You could not park there anymore, probably after that year. He ended up getting parked in, and I want to say he was parked in for like over an hour before he could even get out of the spot after the game. So that's pretty bad. What was your first stadium you went to?
I believe it was Ross H. Stadium, and a quarterback named Drew Brees' first home start against Rice University.
Who was that?
In 1998. I would have been 6 years old, I believe. That's the first memory I have of going to a game, at least. So I'm going to stick with that one.
Our last stadiums are the same.
Yes, Mackey Arena.
Mackey Arena. I saw Michigan go in there and win. You saw Rutgers go in and win.
Day. Yeah.
Man. That was rough, wasn't it?
That was.
That was a great game.
Because Purdue
Baker
just won at Iowa earlier that week.
Feeling pretty good.
Knew they needed a win and maybe a couple in the Big Ten tournament. Then they dropped that one. Well, there goes all that work for nothing. Overtime winning.
Geo Baker was incredible.
Eric Hunter missed a free throw.
Yeah. Would have
won the game. Probably won the game unless how Gio was shooting. He might have made a half quarter.
Yeah. Now, what's the best arena/stadium?
When I did this, I said Empower Field, which is the new name for the Broncos Stadium, because I really enjoy that one. I've been out there 6 times. And really, I haven't been to a ton of really neat stadiums, so I'm going to just stick with that one.
Madison Square Garden?
You know, that was cool as far as from a historical standpoint, but the lighting's really weird in there, and like the court itself just...
It's a basketball
But as far as historical, I mean, that was a bucket list of mine, and I think you need to go there if you get the chance. But that's a good one. I kind of forgot about that.
I said PNC Park. A little bit
that's a really cool one.
It's gorgeous, right on the Allegheny River. Great amenities, great food, beer selection. Just a really cool river walk down there. We walked across that yellow bridge. You always see on TV, the Clementi Bridge, I believe it is. So that's probably the best. I went baseball for some reason, but I really love Hard Rock Stadium and think it's great.
Yeah, you've mentioned that a couple times.
Miami and Gillette Stadium in Foxborough.
I've heard good things about that one too.
Insane.
It's still on my bucket list to get to every NFL stadium, but I got a ways to go. I've only been to 5, I think.
To see a game?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I've been into Lucas Oil for the Combine.
Oh, yeah.
But
that was the first time you've ever been there, wasn't it?
It was nice.
It is nice. I hate watching my team play there because they never win. But
I was in the old RCA Dome a couple times.
I forgot about that one on my list. Yeah.
Yeah, I've also been to 5 RCA Domes.
Because we've both been to Cincinnati. I've been to Cleveland.
Gillette Stadium. I've been to Baltimore and Miami.
St. Louis, 5. Denver. Yeah.
The worst field you've
St. Louis, Edward Jones Dome. Yeah. And they killed the Broncos. That was a bad Rams team. And I thought Emmanuel Sanders died during the game, and Peyton threw 3 or 4 picks. But that place was half Bronco fans, and their fans didn't care. I mean, it was just a generic dome. Like, I thought it'd be cool to go around and see historical things of the greatest show on turf, and there wasn't really anything. It was like...
That's one of the...
You knew they were leaving.
Right.
So.
And that is one of the few... baseball towns.
Yeah. They've even had a Stanley Cup
anything
champion.
Else. Right. Yep. More than anything else.
No doubt.
Most places are football towns,
Yep.
You're
right.
NFL towns.
Good point.
Not St. Louis. My worst, Tropicana Field.
I've heard awful things about that.
You've never been there?
No.
Where the Rays play. It's actually in St. Petersburg.
I have no desire to go watch an indoor baseball. Well,
it's
take
not
that back.
Rays.
Some of the indoor places are kind of nice. Or the retractable roof ones like Miller Park.
I've been to Miller Park. I've been to Chase Field in Arizona.
What's Houston? Is that Minute Maid Park?
That is Minute Maid. Used to be Enron Field, but they had some bad things happen.
But yeah, Tropicana just doesn't look like a fun place to watch a game.
It's not. They need to tear it down and start over. But when we went in like 2004 and 2006. We went in 2004. Rays were the worst team in baseball, playing the second worst team in baseball, the Kansas City Royals at the time. Mike Sweeney was the Royals' best player. Joe Randa was probably their second best player. But The Rays were really bad, and it was me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. We got into the ballpark, second row down the left field line, $34 total. It was a buy one, get one free. The announced attendance was like 8,500.
That's awful.
That was a real bad one.
That's real bad. Wow.
Trying to think of some other ones. I have a list here of worst stadium atmospheres, which Tropicana Field's one of them. Angel Stadium in Anaheim went
You told me
there
about that.
a year ago. It would have been like Wednesday or Thursday. They have the best player in baseball, but it felt like we were watching a game at a minor league stadium. Chase Field in Arizona. It feels like you're watching the field's nice, but it feels like you're watching a game in an airplane hangar. No offense, Ross 8 Stadium, because I've seen some really bad Purdue teams play there, and it's not great.
At least that game against Missouri.
That was a really good
game, but
my next one,
the Hazel years was bad.
Memorial Stadium in Champaign. It's not good either.
Yeah, I've been there twice. Yeah,
it was a great atmosphere when they played like North Carolina and Arizona State, but other than that, it's just garbage. They haven't been good, much like Purdue. They haven't been good in a long time, and the atmosphere's just not very good.
Yeah,
no offense.
Yeah. I'm hoping the new Jumbotron adds to the atmosphere.
You think it will?
I think it's huge. Won't hurt.
I saw it looks huge.
I mean, they had really cool plans to redo the stadium here soon, but that's kind of been put on hold. It might not even happen now because of everything.
Yeah.
So, but most of the places, Valley City Arena, nice arena. Atmosphere's terrible for the Buckeyes.
It's kind of an NBA.
Oh, it is. It holds like 19,000. They just don't care.
That's football school.
They were number one in the country that night. Played the number 10 team in the country.
And they just didn't care.
Nah, the fans showed up like halfway through the first half.
Trying to think of some other, but I hated Baltimore. This football, I just didn't like the stadium. Atmosphere wasn't great. Of course, they were up 40-0 at the 10-minute mark of the second quarter, it felt like, against the Dolphins. Didn't like the city either. No offense to anyone that lives in Baltimore. Didn't like that one. Never been to Cleveland for a game.
Yeah, I'm amazed you've never been to the White Sox Park.
Never been there.
I really am.
Never really had any desire.
I'm surprised you haven't been to a Cub Sox game, though.
That is kind of surprising. I've been
Have you been to St. Louis?
At Busch Stadium.
You've been there.
Yeah, the atmosphere is great there. Which I have another list, top 10 list of stadiums ranked.
Get that
atmosphere-wise. We'll get that.
Got to save some for another filler some other day.
Yeah.
I see a headline here on ESPN. Deshaun Jackson. If no fans can attend NFL games, players should be mic'd.
I would love that. I think they should be mic'd anyway.
That'd be cool.
We get a lot of good content when people and players are mic'd up. I wonder how this is going to affect like Hard Knocks. Yeah,
because it's supposed to be L.A. with two teams this year.
Rams
and Chargers. Rams again because of the new stadium. And it's because of the new stadium.
I was rooting for Oakland, man. Oh, there was Oakland last year.
Yeah.
I'm surprised they didn't hold off.
They blew it last year doing it. Yeah.
What were some other teams? The Broncos
Steelers
could not refuse.
Steelers could have been.
The Steelers couldn't refuse either.
Clemson leading wide receiver Justin Ross to miss 2020 season due to neck and spinal issue.
That's not good. He was like a top.
There goes a top target for Lawrence.
He was the projected first-round pick, too.
Yeah.
They'll still be really good, but that's not good.
And we got a few minutes before the Birdie Bogey, and since we talk a lot of Big Ten, I want to bring this up real quick. CBS Sports did a Big Ten strength of schedule rankings.
I saw Ohio State was ranked 10th.
Imagine that. I'm surprised. Michigan State's got the hardest. Good luck, Mel Tucker.
Yeah, new coach.
They play their non-conference is road trip to BYU, home dates with Toledo and Miami, Florida, your Hurricanes.
Go Canes!
Number 2 is Maryland.
Yikes, that ain't going to be
They got a road trip against West Virginia.
It's going to be all West teams and then a bunch of East teams at the bottom. Well, Purdue's fine.
Number 3 is Michigan. They open up on the road against Washington.
Ooh.
And they have Ball State and Arkansas State.
So it's mainly just
but their opening of conference play welcomes both Wisconsin and Penn State to Ann Arbor. And then they go at Michigan State, at Minnesota.
You hate to see it.
Purdue's 4th. That's mainly because they go at Nebraska. Then they play Memphis and Air Force at home, then at Boston College.
That's difficult.
Yeah. Iowa's 5th.
Hate Iowa.
Northern Iowa, Iowa State, and a MAC team. That's typical. MAC team's Northern Illinois.
And they usually play Northern Iowa and
They
Iowa
do
State.
have back-to-back road games against Ohio State and Penn State, following a home game against Michigan State. They also open conference play with a road game against Minnesota.
Scott Frosty.
But they get Northwestern, Nebraska, and Wisconsin all at home. Nebraska's 6th. Wisconsin 7th. Minnesota 8th. Penn State 9th. Ohio State 10th. Rutgers 11th. Indiana 12th. Northwestern 13. Your Illinois Fighting Illini.
My Illinois Fighting Illini.
Easiest 14.
I know they have UConn
They
at home.
non-conference games against Illinois State, UConn, and Bowling Green.
That's pretty easy.
And you get Ohio State from the Big Ten East, as well as Rutgers and Indiana to balance it out.
Indiana just won 8 games.
You did?
Rutgers should be better.
Yeah, give them a few years. They will be.
Yeah. I kind of hate strength of schedule.
Yeah, it means nothing.
Because it means nothing. It changes
you got
so
to play
much
who you got to
year
play.
year.
And you schedule them, especially in non-conference, you schedule them so far in advance.
Especially when I see an NFL list a strength of schedule like right after the schedule's announced. It's pointless.
It's
teams
just to get conversation going.
Well, teams change so much from year to year. Some teams that won 14 games the year before will win 6. Sure. It's just
next week I can get that. Peter King released some power rankings today. I thought he was off the mark on some, and not who you would think either. But he did have the Dolphins one spot ahead of the Broncos. I had a bone to pick with that.
They're gonna be better.
But give me the birdie bogey again, please.
Raiders' first-round pick, Henry Ruggs, was injured in a moving accident, but will be fine. So they started that off really terrible and ended it up a lot better. Birdie bogey, sorry. There have been 2 rookie NBA All-Stars since 2000. Who are they? Or no. 2 rookie NBA All-Stars. Just rookie. I was thinking,
Well, the one guy I'm thinking of, I don't know if he's technically didn't play a game in his rookie year because he got hurt. But I'm going to go with him anyways because I think that next year, I think they count it as his rookie year because he won the rookie.
I can already tell you are correct.
Blake Griffin.
Blake Griffin.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Blake Griffin blew out his knee.
Yeah, he did. It was his kneecap. Yeah,
the microfracture.
Because I remember that he got the Rookie of the Year award presented to him the next year, so that was obviously his rookie year, technically in his sophomore year. But other rookie to make the All-Star game. There's only been 2. Wow. I got a lot of guys that come to my mind. One guy I want to say, I don't think he was very good his rookie year, though, but then he went on to have a Hall of Fame career. And he's retired already. What conference did he play in? Majority of the time.
Not telling you.
Darn it.
Unless you want a par, if you get them both right.
No, I'm trying. I just don't know. Man. I'm wrong, but I'm going to go Yao Ming.
You are correct.
Wow. I didn't think he was very good his rookie year.
I don't know if he was.
Oh, my gosh.
Well,
I'm really happy I got those right.
He probably got voted in.
Yeah, because I didn't think. All right.
I'm going to see. That's a lot better.
You are really down the dumps right now. I can tell because I got it right.
That was a lot better effort than I put forth last year.
Yeah.
He was good last week. He was good as rookie year. 13.5 points per game, 8 rebounds, 1.8 blocks.
He got so much better going on in his career, of course.
Yeah, he was really
good.
He had a really short career.
He was really good,
injured.
Though. He could shoot for a 7'6" guy.
He was an all-star every
7'7" guy.
Every single year he played in the NBA.
Oh, that's his country.
Played,
of course.
Yes.
Okay.
He had 2 points in the all-star game his rookie year.
All right. I got a birdie.
You did.
All right.
I am very
Actually,
good.
I got 2 birdies tonight.
Man, I had 3 really good questions, and you saw the first one. So that's not my fault.
Yep.
This one was
now I gotta
great effort.
I gotta get a good one for you next week because that was gonna be my question for you next week was the Billups one. So
I shouldn't have used it and then played it off like I hadn't said.
Exactly.
I'm gonna go with Jonathan Billups.
Exactly, like I said you would have. No, I wouldn't have. Yeah, you would have. So wrap us up there, J-Man, for episode 185 of the Tan and J-Man Show.
Thanks for watching / listening to the Tan and J-Man Show.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Give us a rating, 5-star preferably. I used to say give us a 1-star rating, but
Fives help us get noticed.
5s help us get noticed.
We want to be noticed.
We'd like to thank our sponsors, Noble Gnome LLC, Indiana Farm Bureau Insurance Agent Travis Watching for life, home, auto, renters, business, workers' comp, and farm. Contact Travis at 219-869-4561. Travis.watching@infb.com. That is the J-Man Book Prediction of the Week.
Performa Print House, sponsor of the On This Day segment. In the Dam Landing, of course.
In the Dam Landing, yes. So have a great rest of the week, everybody. Stay healthy, stay sane, as Tanner likes to say. We'll see you next Monday.